Okay, so welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you one of my favorite bedtime stories from when I was a kid. This is something that was read to me many times by both my parents, and it's left a lasting impression on me. And I still have vivid memories of both of them reading it to me when I was very young, and really enjoying the illustrations as well as the story. So, this is Hiawatha's Childhood by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, illustrated by Earl LeCaine. As little Hiawatha grows up, he learns all the magic and legends of his people from his grandmother, sees the beauty of the world around him, and makes friends with the wild animals. This short extract from Longfellow's poem, The Song of Hiawatha, is just the right length to hold the attention of small listening children, with its hypnotic verse and lilting cadences now richly illustrated by Earl LeCaine. Hiawatha's Childhood. By the shores of the Gitche Gumee, by the shining Big Sea Water, stood the wigwam of Nokomis, daughter of the moon, Nokomis. Dark behind it rose the forest, rose the black and gloomy pine trees, rose the firs with cones upon them. Bright before it beat the water, beat the clear and sunny water, beat the shining Big Sea Water. And so here we have the wigwam of Nokomis on the shores of the Big Sea Water, and all the pretty flowers that are growing there, and the two canoes, and the sun setting in the distance, and it's still shining off the water and making everything look pretty for them. Color yellow and gold here, you know, showing a kind of like unity with the universe, right? It's like it's smiling upon them, even though the darkness of the forest is there, you know. There, the wrinkled old Nokomis nursed the little Hiawatha, rocked him in his linden cradle, bedded soft in moss and rushes, safely bound with reindeer sinews, stilled his fretful wail by saying, "Hush, the naked bear will get thee," lulled him into slumber, singing, "Ewaye, my little owlet, who is this that lights the wigwam? With his great eyes lights the wigwam. Ewaye, my little owlet." And so here we have Nokomis in her wigwam at night as the sun fades into the distance, right? And she sees the owl hunting. But she's also talking to Hiawatha. I think she's saying that he's her little owlet, right? And that his eyes light the wigwam, right? And I'll just point out you also have the image of the owl painted on the inside of the wigwam itself. And the really fancy, you know, decorations on the clothing and bedding that they have. It's really pretty. Many things Nokomis taught him, of the stars that shine in heaven, showed him Ishkuda, the comet, Ishkuda with fiery tresses, showed the death dance of the spirits, warriors with their plumes and war clubs. And so here we have Nokomis and Hiawatha up on a ridge, looking at Ishkuda, the comet, right? And then in the trail of the comet, we have all the warriors doing the death dance, right? It's like an honorable thing, right? They're all part of, you know, nature. Flaring far away to northward, in the frosty nights of winter, showed the broad white road in heaven, pathway of the ghosts, the shadows, running straight across the heavens, crowded with the ghosts, the shadows. This was always one of my favorite images from when I was young. Just seeing all of the figures of people in the shadows, the ghosts and the shadows of the trees coming in with Hiawatha and Nokomis there. At the door on summer evenings sat the little Hiawatha, heard the whisperings of the pine trees, heard the lapping of the water, sounds of music, words of wonder. Miniwawa, said the pine trees. Mudwe Eoshka, said the water. And so Hiawatha's watching the river that goes past his house, and the birds hunting, and the people on the river. Oops, sorry. Saw the firefly, Wawatesi, flitting through the dusk of evening, with the twinkle of its candle, lighting up the branches and brushes, and he sang the song of children, sang the song Nokomis taught him. Wawatesi, little firefly, little flitting white fire insect, little dancing white fire creature, light me with your little candle, ere upon my bed I lay me, ere in sleep I close my eyelids. And here we have Hiawatha dancing or catching the firefly, right? And I used to count all the fireflies when I was a kid. I don't remember how many there are. I'm not going to count them now, but that was something I used to do when I was young. Saw the moon rise from the water, rippling, rounding from the water. Saw the flecks and shadows on it. Whispered, "What is that, Nokomis?" And the good Nokomis answered, "Once a warrior very angry seized his grandmother and threw her up into the sky at midnight. Right against the moon he threw her. 'Tis her body that you see there." I like the reflection in the water too, as Nokomis holds Hiawatha and tells him the story. Saw the rainbow in the heaven, in the eastern sky the rainbow. Whispered, "What is that, Nokomis?" And the good Nokomis answered, "'Tis the heaven of flowers you see there, all the wild flowers of the forest, all the lilies of the prairie. When on earth they fade and perish, blossom in that heaven above us." And that's a really beautiful, symbolic message about what the nature of the rainbow is. All the flowers, all the beautiful flowers reflected in the sky for us, right? And when on earth they fade and perish, blossom in that heaven above us. When he heard the owls at midnight hooting, laughing in the forest, "What is that?" he cried in terror. "What is that?" he said, "Nokomis?" And the good Nokomis answered, "That is but the owl and owlet, talking in their native language, talking, scolding at each other." And here you can see their wigwam, right? Now we're in the forest looking out. We can see it on the shore with the moon in the background. And there's little owls on each of the branches. Then the little Hiawatha learned of every bird its language, learned their names and all their secrets, how they built their nest in summer, where they hid themselves in winter, talked with them whene'er he met them, called them Hiawatha's chickens. And so there's all the different kinds of birds. You got a bird of prey here too, watching them. Of all beasts he learned the language, learned their names and all their secrets. And that's like a really important lesson for a little Hiawatha. It's actually an interesting thing to consider, which is that if he's living out in nature, it's like each of these animals socialize differently. And so they interact with him and with each other differently. And to learn all of those lessons about how each of these are different from each other and which ones he can be around maybe a little bit or which ones he needs to avoid, like definitely. Right? It's like those are interesting little things to consider about the nature of his relationship to nature, right? How the beavers built their lodges, where the squirrels hid their acorns. Learning how beavers build dams, that gives you lots of clues about how to keep fresh water around you all year round, right? Or where fresh water is likely to be, right? River management, all those kinds of things. But also, you also get housing construction ideas as well from these guys. But also, you get the squirrels, who teach you what is edible, what's the food source that you can eat here, and that you can store up for winter, right? Which is the acorns. How the reindeer ran so swiftly, why the rabbit was so timid, talked with them when Harry met them. And so here we have Hiawatha learning how to coexist with the reindeer so he can ride them. That's fun. And the bunnies are always just running away, just like the bunnies in my yard. They're super timid, but they'll let you walk up like maybe 6 feet away from them, and then they'll run. Called them Hiawatha's brothers. He's got a picture of all of them, and the picture of Nokomis with all the fireflies. I think that's like a really interesting picture to consider, the passing of one generation's knowledge down to the next, right? And like what's actually important, you know? And so that's the story of Hiawatha's childhood. And I think it's really beautiful. It's always been one of my favorites. But I also noticed that there's a few more here that are also illustrated by Errol LeCain. The Snow Queen, Mrs. Fox's Wedding, Thorn Rose, The 12 Dancing Princesses, Aladdin and the Wonderful Lamp, Cinderella, and The Pied Piper of Hamelin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to take a look and see if any of these are available. And I might also pick some of these up for us to read as well, if any of them look good. So something else to look forward to on the channel. But if you guys liked listening to me read another bedtime story for the YouTubes, and you want to join me for more things like this in the future, please consider subscribing. And yeah, that was Hiawatha's Childhood, a really fun book, and I really enjoy the symbolic uh, meaning behind the lessons that are taught to him and like what's important, right? It's like here's the ancestors of the past, like through the warriors in the sky, right? And the ghosts in the shadows and all that kind of stuff. But then you also have the lessons about the rainbow, right? And it's like those are almost universal lessons uh, to basically everybody out there, I guess. You know what I mean? It's like we all have to learn these lessons at some point in our lives, how we function in relationship to nature and the things around us, right? And so it's just a really nice little book for kids to have to consider, you know, some of those things just as ideas, you know, but also to see it in like a pictorial allegory or imagery. I just think it's interesting. So, yeah, if you enjoyed that, join us next time and we'll see you for more. Okay.